ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, we welcome everyone for today's morning reading. We are on the 7th chapter, verse number 17. Tesham jnani nitya yukta eka bhakti vishishyate priyo hi jnanino atyartham aham sacha mama priya. At this point of time, Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, who is among these four Sukriti or Sukritanaha are most dear to you? And Lord Shri Krishna said, among all this, the Sham Jnani Nitya Yukta, Nitya Yukta who is always engaged, Eka Bhakti Vishishyate in rendering devotional service, who is known as Jnani. Priyohi Jnanino Atyartham Aham Sacha Mama Priya. Such a person is most dear to me among all the four. Purport. Free from all contaminations of material desires, distress, inquisitive, penniless, and the seeker after supreme knowledge can all become pure devotees. But out of them, he who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, free from all material desires, becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. And of the four orders, the devotee who is in full knowledge and at the same time engaged in devotional service, Nitya Yukta, the Lord says, is the best. By searching after knowledge, one realizes that his self is different from his material body, and when further advanced, he comes to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. When one is fully purified, he realizes that his constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of God. So, by association with pure devotees, the inquisitive, distressed, seeker, with Jigyasu, and the men in knowledge, Jnani, all become themselves pure. But in the preparatory stage, the man who is in full knowledge of the Supreme Lord is at the same time executing devotional service is very dear to the Lord. He who is situated in pure knowledge of the transcendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so protected in devotional service that material contamination cannot touch him. So, four kinds of people who surrender, four kinds of people do not surrender. Those who surrender, they are called as Sukritinaha, and those who do not surrender are called as Dushkritinaha. Who are the Dushkritinaha? Mudha, Naradamaha, Maya Ahapradgyana, and Asuram. Asuram means three categories of people. One who is envious of Krishna, one who wants to remove all evidences of the presence of Krishna, and third one who wants to become Krishna. So, in other words, what it means, one who denies the presence of God, that is atheist. One who wants to remove the presence of God, an envious living entity, you can call the scientist for that reason, and one who wants to become God themselves, that is Mayavadis. So these are three kinds of asuras. And then Amuras, hardworking people who are only after sense gratification. Naradama, they do not have any regular principles of social, political, and religious life. And Maya Pratagyana refers to scientists, philosophers, poets. And there are four kinds of people who surrender to Krishna. Among those four, the first three, Atu, Jigyasu, Arthati, they are selfish. They have come to the Lord for their own benefit. They have certain desires which they want to be fulfilled, but yet Lord Shri Krishna says they are Sukritana. Because they are pious, therefore they are coming. Not that every distressed person goes to Krishna. Many goes to the pub and bar also. And those who are going there, they don't go to Krishna. I'm just making a point over here to make a discrimination. like that. But one more thing which our acharyas mentioned in this regard, these people, as I mentioned yesterday, they don't do window shopping. If they knock on the door of Krishna, means they only knock on the door of the Lord. They don't go to devtas. These are the four categories which are mentioned here. So don't confuse with the regular Hindu person here who goes to the shopping mall of various devatas, and we pray to everyone. Of course, it's not their fault. They don't know about it. There is a confusion. But here, when Krishna is mentioning, it's very specific. Text number 18. Now Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, really? Does it mean that you do not pay attention to the other three? You only appreciate, or you only are dear, or you only affectionate to the one who is Jnani? Krishna says, no, not like that. Udhara sarva evaite jnani tu atma eva me matam asitaha sahi yuktatma mamevanuttamam gatim. Udhara sarva evaite, Arjuna, they all are udhara. So udhara means broad-minded. They are very kind-hearted. So Krishna is saying, in other words, jnani tu atmaiva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mam eva anutamam gatim. So Krishna is expressing his gratitude. He's saying, no, I'm grateful to all those who come and take my shelter. And this is not the first time Krishna is saying this. Krishna said that in the second chapter also, Neha vikramanashvasi pratyavayona vidyate. There also Krishna says, Swa-alpa, not alpa, but Swa-alpa. Even for a meager of a fraction of a second, somebody renders devotional service, Krishna says, Trayate mahato vayat, can save you from the greatest danger. On the same line, this verse is also spoken. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service is sure to attain me, the highest and the perfect goal. Prabhupada is right. The second line. The Lord says that all are magnanimous, because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted with the Lord because there's an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit, and when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord, because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. He is talking about bhakta. The other three are not bhaktas. They will become bhakta in association with devotees. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotees. So now rest of the Prabhupada talks about the relationship between the pure devotee and the Lord. And therefore Prabhupada quotes from the 9th canto, a very famous slok. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhunam hridayam tuham madanyatena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. I always reside in the heart of my pure devotees, and the pure devotees are always in my heart. Madanyatena jananti. My devotees do not know anything apart from me. And naham tebhyo managami. Naham is I. I also cannot forget my devotees. Text number 19. My dear Lord, how long does it take all these three categories that you have spoken for, but the three, those who are on the selfish platform, to come to the platform of a jnani, or to come to the platform of a pure devotee? After how much time will they come to the state of pure devotee? Text number 19. Bhavanam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamati samatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me. This is Jnani. Knowing to me to be the cause of all causes and all that is such a great soul is very rare. Which means those Sukritnaha, or the pious souls who are taking exclusive shelter of the Lord for the fulfillment of their material desires, it will take them several lifetimes to come to the platform of Jnani, where they realize now that I should serve Lord. Are you getting the point? Lord, give me something, to the consciousness, Lord, I want to serve you. It's a whole journey of many lifetimes. Bahunam janmanamante. It may take many lifetimes. But these many lifetimes can turn into a single lifetime by the intervention of a pure devotee. That is our story. We all are sitting here because we had been touched by some devotees. Or let's say we all have been influenced by the association of Srila Prabhupada through his writings, through the association of his disciples and grand disciples. That's the story. All right? That's the point and gist over here. Okay, let's take a look at purport. Purport is big. I'll read the first paragraph. That's the concept. The living entity, while executing devotional service, a transcendental ritual, after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Lord is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand there are activities in the spiritual life, and these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Lord and surrenders to him. At such a time, one can understand that Krishna's mercy is everything. Krishna is the cause of all causes. His material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a, oh yes. What are the realizations of the Jnani? The five realization. What does it mean to, fully surrender to the Lord? I forgot this very important one. Prabhupada writes in the purport. So now somebody may ask a question: am I on that platform of this Jnani? Or am I in that situation where I can really surrender to the Lord? Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlava. Krishna is saying such a person is very rare. Now we all have taken shelter of the Lord. Are we among those rare people? Yes, not. Maybe let's see what Prabhupada says. What is the realization of a person? First point is in the third line. The first point is the 5 points Prabhupada mentions the purpose. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yat jnanam dvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. The three levels of God realization: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So he is beyond Brahman. He is even beyond Paramatma realization. He is situated, which means an individual is situated that there is Krishna, there is a form, and there is spiritual world where we can have personal relationship with the Lord. He's fixed on that understanding. That is the first thing. Okay. Second, he can understand 2 or 3 lines below. He can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life, and these activities constitute devotional service, which means what is my relationship with the Lord is to serve Him. The activities of the relationship that we can develop the relationship with the Lord through the means of devotional service. So now he doesn't ask the Lord for anything. Rather, he asks only one thing. Just like Prabhupada described, what is the meaning of chanting Hare Krishna? My dear mother, Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna, kindly engage me in your devotional service. That's the point here. That's the realization that devotional service. What I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to serve the Lord rather than asking. Second realization. What is the third realization? Is 2 lines below. Lord Shri Krishna's mercy is everything. Anything and everything that is happening is all happening because of Lord's mercy. Which means the ego dilutes here at this point of time. I am the doer. Prakriti kramanani guna karmani sarvasya. Ankara gudhatma kartamiti. That consciousness is not there. He understands the 5th chapter talks about the relationship between Jivatma, Paramatma, and the material nature, or how the desires are fulfilled, the concept of 3 rivers. He knows that. My only independence is to desire. Ultimately, everything is fulfilled by Paramatma, directed by Prakriti. That's the third. Fourth, what is the fourth realization? He is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. There are 3 causes: immediate, remote, and ultimate. Right? So your immediate karma deva naitrena, your karma and deva. And the ultimate cause is Krishna. But you understand, he is the cause of all cause means Krishna is my immediate cause, Krishna is my remote cause, Krishna is my ultimate cause. So now if I ask you, who is your mother and father? What should we answer? Krishna. You getting it? That is the meaning of understanding He is the cause of all causes. That is the platform, which means, just like Prabhupada quotes the previous verse, right? Mad anyate na jananti. The pure devotee of the Lord does not know anyone apart from me. That is the meaning of it. So He is the cause of all causes. Now, does it seem a little harsh? अरे आपने तो हमारा माँ बाप के संग संबंध ही खत्म कर दिया. I mean, it's not like that. But what's a fact? Is that a fact or not? Now, what is the relationship with our mother and father? I mean, all due respect, we have a relationship, we have certain obligation. I'm not saying that. But in the larger picture of this whole creation, what is the relationship between us and other living entity? Think about it. Do we have any relationship? Now, we may have a wife, we may have a child, we may have a grandparents, but in this whole larger picture of this whole universe or creation, what relationship do we have? For example, Harsha Shoka, fourth canto, if I'm correct, Chitraketu Maharaj story, or sixth canto actually, not fourth, sixth canto. Harsha Shoka dies poisoned by his stepmothers, and Chitraketu Maharaj is suicidal right now. He wants to commit suicide literally, in the sense he cannot live. His only son have died, who he got after such a long effort, such a long effort. And to begot a son, he had to marry hundred thousands of queens, but he still could not begot a child. Finally, he was blessed by Agastya Muni. He had a child, and the stepmothers poisoned him because he was the only child, and the queen who begot the child became the favorite queen. Other queens became envious. Long story short, Chitraketu Maharaj is heartbroken now. What will I? There's no meaning for me to live. And then Narad Muni, Agastya Muni comes again, and then Narad Muni revives Harsha Shoka back to life. And they say, Harsha Shoka, welcome back to your Harsha Shoka body. Now, here are your parents, Chitraketu Maharaj and others. They are crying for you. Please talk to them. And then the king again, oh, they were related. Our son has come back to life. And son was like, kahan aa gaya main? Kaun hu main? And he asked, who are you? Chitraketu Maharaj said, अरे तेरे पिताजी हूँ मैं. And the mother said, बेटा तेरी माँ हूँ, तुझे 9 महीने मैंने कोख में पाला. Chitraketu, the Harsha Shoka said, my dear respected mother and father, since I departed from this body, I have already accepted many mothers and fathers. Which mother, father are you, or which lifetime? This is a fact, actually. So, who is the cause of all causes? To understand Krishna, this is not a question of understanding, this subject matter realization, which comes on its own accord as you practice. Okay, I hope I didn't scare you, anyone. Right? Again, we have our obligation of a responsibility towards a society, towards our parents, towards a family. Don't go and ask your wife, which wife are you? Which lifetime? और बच्चे को ये मत पूछना जब वो स्कूल जाने के लिए बोले बेटा कौन है तू कौन से जीवन का मेरा बच्चा है तू. All right, this cannot be artificially practiced. And the fifth realization, he realizes the very next line, he realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. This is nothing but the 15th chapter, verse number 1. Urdhvamula madhashaka mashvatam prahuravyam chandamsi yasya paranani yastam vedasa vedavit. Wherein now we understand this whole material creation is nothing but a perverted reflection. My real home is spiritual world. I'm going home, back to my native. What is my native? Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. No, my native is spiritual world. Set, that's our set in mind. This is what is the platform of Jnani. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. So how many of you want to go back home, back to God in a single lifetime? Raise your hand. Are you sure? This level of realization has to happen. Are you ready for it? What is our level of endeavor going on for that? अपना क्या है ना, इस कांड में हंसते खेलते कूदते नाचते हमें पूरा ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस रहता है, अपना तो टिकट कट ही जाएगा। यू नो, खाते पीते प्रसाद और करते हुए भक्तों के संग रहते रहते कोई चिंता की बात ही नहीं है, प्रभुपाद है ना, देख लेंगे। हमारा जीवन उस कॉन्फिडेंस से चलता है, विच इज ट्रू, विच इज गुड, विच यू शुड हैव इट, नो डाउट अबाउट इट, but we should somewhere try to come close to it. All right, text number 20 now. So Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, what is the situation of those who do not surrender to you but do surrender to devatas? Text number 20, Krishna says, Kamestasya hritgnana prapadante anya devataha tam tam niyamam astaya prakritya nihata swaya. Hey Arjuna, just because of the lust, kamas, their greed or their desire, their hritgnanaha. Hritgnanaha, they are deprived of the real knowledge. Prapadanti anya devata. Therefore, they go and take shelter of anya devatas. Tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritiya nihataso. And they accordingly follow different rules and regulations prescribed for the worship of that devata. Puppet. Those who are free from all material contaminations surrender unto Lord and engage in his devotion service. As long as material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. Hari bol, huh? क्या कह रहे हैं प्रभुपाद? As long as material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature what? Non-devotees, regardless of the size of your tilak and shikha. Okay. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In Srimad Bhagavatam, so okay, Srimad Bhagavatam second canto says, Kama sarva kamava moksha kamadariti tivrena bhakti yogena yajata purusham param. So Sukdev Goswami says, you have no desires, you have all the desires, or you desire moksha. What you should do? You should approach Lord Shri Krishna. That's the point. So less intelligent people who lost their spiritual sense take shelter of devatas for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to Supreme Personality of Godhead because they're in lower modes of nature. Any examples of less intelligent people from the history of mankind? They had certain desires and they approached devatas but not Vishnu. Uncle Hiranyakashipu and Uncle Hiranyaksh, right? Ravana. You name anyone for that. Kumbhakarna, the whole family, even for Kamsa for that reason. You know, so they will all worship devatas and they'll have animosity towards Vishnu. They wanted to destroy Vishnu. Interesting, huh? If you just reflect on this whole thing, that they were drawing their powers from Brahma. Each one of them. Primarily Brahma and secondly Lord Shiva. Now Ravan also had worshipped Brahma first. Hiranyakashipu and Akshan definitely worshipped Brahma. Ravan and Kumbhakarna, they had worshipped whom first? Brahma. Later on, he surrendered to Shiva. Sometimes people say Ravan was Shiva Bhakt. That Shiva Bhakta was not Shiva Bhakti. You know, he understood Shivji is more powerful than I, and his strategy was very simple. जिसको मैं पीट नहीं सकता, उससे हाथ मिला लो. He would make friends. Like Bali. He made a friends with Bali. Like that. And you know, Kartivya Arjun. You know, like that. He would go around and make friends with those. Like that was a thing. So it's very interesting that all these people would approach Devta. Now a question to ask for, just I'm asking a question. Now, so many examples are there in the history where people were actually approaching Brahma ji. पर कलयुग में ब्रह्मा जी का एक मंदिर भी नहीं है. It's interesting, right? हाँ, पुष्कर में एक बचा हुआ है, ठीक है, वो बचा हुआ है एक. But there are no temples in Brahma. How many of you have worshipped Brahma? We have worshipped Surya Devta, we have worshipped Ganesh, we have worshipped Shivji, Parvati. Any idea why it is so? This is out of syllabus question right now. But while I was discussing, this question came to mind, so I thought I'll ask you. Any quick thoughts? Brahmaji gives material benefit. They got it, na? So we are also looking for material. We, not we, I'm talking about. So for which material benefit? People don't go to Brahma today. If you have gone to Hindu temples, there is no Brahmaji's deity, right? Why Brahmaji is not worshipped today? And traditionally, in the previous ages, everyone worshipped. Whoever wanted something worshipped Brahma because Brahma is the secondary creator. So people consider at large that Brahma is the creator of this world. Brahma is the father of all. Rudra came from whom? Brahmaji. All devtas have come from Brahmaji. So why we don't worship Brahma in Kali Yuga or in present day? So when Krishna had appeared, he had blessed, saying that there will be 5 devtas whose worship would be prominent in coming age, in Kali Yuga. You read in the Krishna book also. First is a family of Shivji. Shivji, Durga, Ganesh, right? And you see their temples all over India. Fourth, Vishnu. And fifth, Surya Narayan. Or Surya, not Surya Narayan, Surya. People confuse that with Surya. These are the 5 prominent devtas in Kali Yuga. Nobody worships anyone else. That's very so. This is because of that. Actually, Brahmaji is not worshipped. Pushkar has one surviving temple. I'll have to look into the history. How there is some story about it also. Fine. That's the point about in this verse. Later on, the worshippers of demigods and same puppet are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the supreme Lord is not misguided. In Vedic literature, there are recommendations of worshipping different gods for different purposes. Example, a deceased man recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. That's the whole problem. But a pure devotee knows the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasa Pratya. Only the Supreme Personality God Krishna is the master and all others are servants. All right. And now Krishna says, Arjuna, not only this, I am the only one who approve the actions of devatas. Even your desire to worship devatas is approved by me. I am the only one who strengthens your faith in devatas. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhayarchitam ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadamiham. I am in everyone's heart as super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some devata, I make his way steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Sarvasya chaham hidi sannivishtu. Right? Krishna says, I am residing in the heart of every living entity. And I am the one who makes the face steady. Puppet. God has given. So Prabhupada's puppet is focused on why does Lord allows us to misuse our free will by desiring some, wrong things in that sense, not the absolute thing. Read out the puppet, first paragraph.
God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul is everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world and so lets them fall into the trap of illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita: one should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make a man happy.
Continue fast.
Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such a demigod. For example, A deceased person is
So here
recommended.
the example is given. Let's go few lines below. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because the Supreme Lord or Super Soul is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to men to worship devatas. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord, therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated the Supreme Personality Godhead as Super Soul is also present with the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desires of the living entity, but both the demigods and living entity are dependent on the Supreme will, they are not independent. Next, Krishna says, Arjuna, not only this means that I make your face steady, I am the one who actually bestows benedictions, not the Devta. Sataya Shuddhaya Yuktas Tasya Aradhanam Yate Labate Cha Tadha Kaman Mayeva Vihitan Hitan. Devtas, you are approaching them, but they are not the one who bestows. Actually, it is I who bestow through them. Simple example, let's say the Prime Minister of the country has started with some policy, some free ration distribution program like that. Now the states are distributing it, and within the state, within the city, the mayor might be facilitating it, and within the municipality, some local guy would be facilitating it. Now, who's distributing it? You go to a local shop and get it. You may think the shopkeeper is getting it, but is he doing it? And he may say, no, not me. Let's say mayor. I don't know, understand the hierarchy, but I'm just saying. Let's say he says actually mayor is the one who gets it. Is the mayor doing it? Is the chief minister doing it? Whose policy it is? Prime Minister. Who has created the system of distribution of free ration? The Prime Minister. Who has created this whole culture of sacrifices? Krishna. Who has created the culture of interdependency between the devatas and the jivatmas? Krishna. Am I saying it? No. If you want, you can just go to third chapter once again, verse number 12, 13, 14. We can just read the quick translation. Krishna says, I have done this. Third chapter, verse number 11. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifice, will also please you, and thus by cooperation between man and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. This is third chapter, verse 11. Verse number 12. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied with the performance of yajna, will supply all necessities to you, but he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. And then text number 13. First of all, text number 10. I was missing where the point. Text number 10, Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna, because his performance will bestow upon everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. And then comes 11th. Demigods being pleased by sacrifice will also please you. So now, who created this culture of free ration distribution? The Supreme Personality Godhead. And who are the distributors? Devatas. Whom you have to approach for getting a free ration? Devatas. Through the means of Vedic culture. However, if you wish, you can also approach the Supreme Lord directly. That is the point of the discussion. Is it making sense? That's the whole picture here, okay? That's text number 21, now text number 22 of 7th chapter. Oh, we're talking 22nd verse only, na? Krishna is the one who actually bestows the benefits. So this is, we were reading for 22nd verse. I took you on third chapter, verse number 10, 11, 12, just to give an evidence that Krishna have already spoken about it. And now with such a faith, it enables to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Please read the paragraph. Purports.
The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget.
I guess we have already discussed this. I've already given reference. We'll go to the next verse, right? This is clear to everyone. I know that's a point being mentioned here. Let's go to text number 20. What is the result of worshipping devatas or the result of worshipping Vishnu? Antavattu phalam tesham. First of all, the result is temporary. Antavat, it has a beginning, it has an end. Tadabhavati alpamedasam. Unfortunately, alpamedasam, who are less intelligent person, they aspire for that. Devan devaya joyanti. And finally, at the end of the day, they may go to the Devalok. Madhavaktaya yanti mamapi, but my devotee comes to my abode. Purport. Please read.
Some commentators on the Bhagavad Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord. But here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planetary systems where various demigods are situated, just as a worshipper of sun achieves the sun or a worshipper of demigod of moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain the particular god's planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of
So,
Godhead.
this particular verse refutes the argument whatever you do, everyone goes to the same destination. All path leads to the same goal. This is the verse which refutes it. No. Devan deva yajoyanti madbhaktayanti mamapi. Not all path leads you to the same goal. Worship Devtas, you go to Devlok. Worship Vishnu, you go to, like, you sit in a train which is heading to Bombay, you reach Bombay. You sit in a train heading to Calcutta, you go to Calcutta. Not that because you sat in a train, it will take you to the same destination. This is a misunderstanding. Simple logic. All right. Next paragraph.
Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different part of the body of Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However,
So valid question. अरे आप ऐसा क्यों कह रहे हो भाई? देवता भी तो भगवान के ही अंग हैं. तो हम देवता को अप्रोच करेंगे तो हमें भगवान की प्राप्ति होनी चाहिए. Now Prabhupada answers.
However, worshippers of demigods are less intelligent because they do not know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some
So,
of the
yes, they are part of the body. You know, let's say somebody may be a hand, somebody may be a leg. But the worshippers devtas are less intelligent because they don't understand where the food to be supplied. How the hand and the leg would get nourished. Hand and leg would get nourished when the food is supplied to the whole body through the mouth. Which means the worshippers of devtas, even when they worship devtas, they do not follow Vedic understanding. They worship them through their own mental concoction. If anyone would have to follow Vedic practice, Vedic culture of approaching devatas, then they would definitely come to Supreme Lord. Because the whole culture which is created by the Lord is such a way that leads you to a progressive development. But today, whatever worship we know of, people are worshipping Durga. We have what Navaratri, we have what Ganesh Chaturthi. Whatever is happening, do you find any resemblance of any Vedic culture there? Any Vedic practice? Therefore, they cannot. You getting the point here? That's the point we made. Okay, worship devatas, no problem. We have already said third chapter. Krishna says, you know, they are part of the different parts of the body, but you should follow the Vedic science to worship them, so that you can make a progress. But that is not being done, so there is no hope for them. Go ahead.
some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This is not very
Sanguine, which
sanguine.
means intelligent.
Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of Supreme Lord, and in their ignorance, they believe that each and every demigod is separate God and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are the demigods part of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas are his arms, the Vaishyas are his waist, the Shudras are his legs, and all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches.
The result achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable, because in the material world, the planets, demigods, and the worshippers are all perishable. This is the subject matter after half an hour for today's Srimad Bhagavatam also. We're in the second canto. This is what we're going to discuss. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living beings, Alpamedisam. Because the pure devotee is engaged in Krishna conscious devotion with the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge. His achievements and those of the common worshippers or demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. This is one of the very, very beautiful chapter. Very highly scientific, very much stooped into the concepts of Vedic culture. Those of us who are still struggling with certain aspects of whom to worship, why we worship this and that, or how Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Godhead, etc., should read this chapter again and again. Prabhupada's purport, and I've given you enough clues on which you can further, contemplate either on the supremacy of the Lord as He being the original source of energy. We spoke about the science behind it, and now relationship between Krishna and Devatas. Now we'll continue the last few verses tomorrow, and then we'll go to the next chapter. Thank you.